and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. This is what is coming up on the program. Supreme Court reserved judgment in the appeal by the All Progressives Congress and its governorship candidate in Adamawa State, Aisha Dahiru, known as Binani, against Governor Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa State. Governor Fubara appoints former leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly as Chief of Staff days after inaugurating Renominated Commissioners. As the economy bites harder, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the Tinubu-led administration is on course to fix the country's myriads of challenges. We're coming on air with the latest development in the polity, and it's coming from the Supreme Court, where it has reserved judgment in the appeal by the All Progressives Congress and its governorship candidate Aisha Dahiru, popularly called Binani, against Governor Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa State. The Tribunal and Court of Appeal had dismissed Binani's petition challenging the victory of Fintiri in the governorship election in March last year. The five-member panel led by Justice John Okoro adjourned the matter for judgment after listening to arguments of both parties involved in the matter. The main contention of Binani through our counsel, Mr. Akin Olujimi, at the day's proceeding is that the controversial declaration of the resident electoral commissioner, Mr. Hudu Ari, was lawful. And now to Rivers politics, where things happen in rather quick succession. And just a few days after swearing in the renominated commissioners, Governor Fubara has just appointed former leader of the group loyal to him in the House of Assembly, Mr. Ehie, as his chief of staff. 5 special advisors were also appointed, and they are to be sworn in at the council chambers today by the governor. Mr. Ehie contended with Mr. Martins Amewule for the position of Speaker of the Assembly at the peak of the political crisis that rocked the state recently. He, however, resigned as member of the Assembly as part of the resolution brokered by President Bola Tinubu. In the meantime, the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, says his administration is facing distractions as a result of the political crisis in the state. That's despite winning at the Supreme Court. He laid bare his concerns at the St. Paul's Anglican Church in his hometown of Opobo, where he attended a service in the aftermath of his victory at the Supreme Court.
Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State begins his engagement at the Port Harcourt Holy Ghost Rally, an annual program by the Redeemed Christian Church of God. The General Overseer of the Church, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, is also here.
Father Almighty, we are saying thank you.
Held at the 40,000 capacity stadium in the state capital, former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, former APC governorship candidate in the state, Tonye Cole, and other political leaders are among the congregants. The theme, promoted for a purpose, seemed to resonate quite well with the governor, who acknowledges that it is a reflection of his life story.
The theme is not different from my story. I was promoted by God first through my party and the leaders of my party. So promotion comes from God and God alone.
From here, he leads his family, cabinet members and political associates to his hometown of Opobo for a Thanksgiving service to mark his victory at the Supreme Court, as well as his 49th birthday anniversary. Governor Fubara admits that his government is facing distraction emanating from the political crisis rocking the state.
We were selected because they believed we had something that we would do for our state. we have not been given the opportunity to do those things that we ought to do for our state. We've had a lot of distraction, but I strongly believe that while we navigate the path of peace, prayer is also needed for us to pass over this phase.
The governor expresses his desire for total peace in the state. He salutes the courage of his supporters and also calls for prayer from the church.
And one more thing before we leave Rivers politics. Some of the renominated commissioners have explained the circumstances that led to their recall and eventual swearing in for a second term as commissioners. The commissioners who spoke during a grassroots democratic initiative rally in the Owerri local government area say they were recalled based on the peace brokered by the president.
It's a gathering of political players and heavyweights loyal to the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, and the venue is Isiokpo in the Owerri local government area of Rivers State. Dubbed as a revalidation exercise for members of Mr. Wike's grassroots development initiative, those in attendance here include some of the recently reappointed commissioners who used the opportunity of the event to clear the air on their reappointments.
We wouldn't have addressed this matter because it was our resolution not to address it. But while we were seated here, we saw a press release by the essay to the governor of Rivers State, Governor Gov Fubara, that we resign on our own volition and return on our own volition. It is important that we correct the impression. We never return to anywhere. We are recalled based on presidential proclamation. And I know those of you who are GDI members know that we are men of pedigree. We have pedigree. If we stand by something, we stand by that thing till the end of it. We did this in sacrifice for the peace and the progress of the nation.
Chairman of the local government area, Samuel Wanosike, also publicly apologizes to the governor for his unsavory comments about him, even as he says they have no regrets about the choice of Ehie Fubara as governor of Rivers State.
I want to tender an unreserved apology to the people of Nigeria for speaking in that manner and to say clearly that I regret that action and it's led by anger. And our focus is clear, and we know that our leader never made any mistake by choosing Ehie Fubara as the governor of Rivers State.
In the interest of peace, however, one of the political leaders appeals to the governor to call on the FCT minister so they can resolve their differences amicably.
I have one thing to tell him, Joseph Fubara, our executive governor, that did a third run to install. I beg you, I plead, take your phone and call Chief Nyesom Wike.
The political situation in Rivers State is indeed heating up, with both sides engaged in a political chess game. But the expectation of many is that all parties can resolve their differences and the people can enjoy the benefits of good governance.
Lots of things going on in Rivers politics, but let's leave that for a moment and head to other states where the APC National Chairman Byelections says Saturday's by-election in Taraba State will serve as a litmus test for the popularity of the party in the state ahead of the 2027 polls. The campaign rally to woo electorates for the House of Representatives by-election for Jalingo, Yoro and Zinc Federal Constituency, the APC maintains its optimism of victory for its candidates.
We need to ask ourselves, why are we losing the grip? So many errors were committed, and upon those errors, we all come together collectively and agree that we are going to amend the errors. Upon such amendments, we have what we have today. a very clear, pure, clean, transparent, and highly credible primary election. It is in line with these that those who gallantly lost in the course of the primaries, being so much satisfied with the processes, agreed and concede the defeat and agreed to support the winner. And that is why today, all the 5 of us who has contested for that seat are working together.
We have brought our candidate, and a qualified candidate, one who has been tested, one whom we trust, and by the grace of God, come February, we should all make sure that we return Dr. Aminu Male to the House of Representatives to do better than he has done before, because he is now more experienced, being the immediate chief of staff of the immediate past Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives. He has now known the terrain better than when he was a member.
So, the weekend will be here any moment from now, about 5 days or so from now. Saturday, we'll be here for the by-elections that will be taking place across different constituencies, both senatorial district and federal constituencies. So INEC there is to hold the elections, by and rerun election. About senatorial elections will be 2 states, and then that's 2 constituencies. Federal constituencies 4, and then about 2 state constituencies. So INEC is to hold elections across about 9 states. So there will be by-elections and rerun elections in about 30 constituencies. In 3 of them is going to be an entire constituency. But hey, our focus today is not just on all the constituencies. You can see Yobe State. This is our focus. Akoko Northeast and Akoko Northwest federal constituencies. So the big question is, who replaces Olubunmi Tunji Ojo in the House of Representatives? Now he's the Minister of the Interior. The PDP, the APC, and all other political parties are gearing up to take over the seat, which was declared vacant because of his appointment into the federal cabinet. That will form our conversation today. So who replaces him? The PDP say they are the ones. The APC say they will retain their seat. And I'm being joined on the program right now by the PDP Publicity Secretary in Ondo State, Mr. Kennedy Perete. Mr. Perete, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me this afternoon.
Always a pleasure to have you here. So let's begin with how you are preparing for this particular by-election. You're perhaps the first test in a long while after the general elections last year. And going with what is happening in your state, how prepared is the PDP? So the big question we asked was, who replaces Olubunmi Tunji Ojo? Of course, I know the PDP will say they are the ones, but how prepared are you?
Well, let me say that we are very prepared in every sense of the word preparation. Now, let me also say very quickly that this particular election is different from all other elections because the particular federal contesting we are talking about now is very peculiar. There is a rotational formula between the 2 local governments that form federal constituency. So where the PDP has picked its own candidate is where the rotation arrangement favors at this particular time. And that is why we have put everything in place to ensure that that which ought to be must become.
So I understand Mr. Lekon Bada is the one that has a ticket to represent the party. I think I did talk to him about 1 or 2 weeks ago. When you assess him as a party, does he have what it takes to give you that push and that positioning that gives you some kind of advantage to be able to pick this seat at the National Assembly? And why?
Well, you must acknowledge the fact that the PDP candidate was chairman of Akoko Northeast at a particular time. So in terms of pedigree, in terms of experience, in terms of what it takes, he has everything that it takes to represent the people of that federal constituency at the National Assembly. He has been prepared over the years by way of his career, by way of his training. even as a politician, So I think we are putting our right foot forward, and the people of Akoko Northwest, Northeast, we better for it if Lekan Bada is elected.
I know you are around doing the campaign, so let's talk about that for a moment, where you are campaigning. Maybe that's the first question. Second question will be, for you to be campaigning for this replacement of this seat, I know that when Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the Honorable Minister, was contesting for this seat in 2019, he did mention wealth creation, employment and empowerment, education and health. So what do you think that Mr. Bada is bringing to the table that will uniquely reposition the posture of this particular federal constituency to get the buy-in of the federal government to begin to do things more for that council?
Well, I can tell you that he has a very robust plan. Our candidate has a very robust plan in the area of delivering dividends of democracy to the people, in the area of infrastructure, in the area of education, also in the area of empowerment for the people. Because each time these kind of positions are occupied, a very select few will take advantages, and they say that's for the whole community, that's for the entire federal constituency. But this time around, every community that is involved in this particular election will be drawing benefits, either from the area of road infrastructure, either in the area of provision of electricity, whatever it takes that will bring joy to the lives of the people, our candidates will do. And he has also drawn up a very, very robust manifesto, for the people, which has been the highlight of the campaign that has been ongoing. I left the campaign ground to be part of what we are doing now, because it's not an election that I want to leave anything to chance. And I'm very sure from the response and the acceptance we have received from the people, I'm convinced that the PDP will deliver for this election.
Just to follow up on that particular question, he did tell me when I interviewed him, the time I did interview him, saying that the Honorable Minister, now Honorable Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, did not do much for the people. And I asked him exactly, how does he intend to get the push at the National Assembly to ensure that the very things that the Honorable Minister, in his words, could not do, he does it? Well, he gave his own response, but I want to find out from you, as a political party, having those interactions with him, is he going to be funding this project, infrastructure, empowerment, education, by himself through constituency project, or is going to see he's going to use legislation to drag it in? What exactly is the strategy here?
I didn't get clearly.
Sometimes members of the House or legislators use their money, they call it constituency project and all of that. Some other time they use, policies in terms of bills to be able to attract this. So what is the best foot forward he's going to be using to make sure that development comes to Akoko Northwest and Northeast?
Well, you know very well that the legislature is about influence. It's about what you're able to lobby for and get your colleagues and whatever it is required to bring development to your area. Again, it's experience. It's experience as a former chairman of local government will come very handy. And it's somebody that is very widely exposed in terms of connections and contacts. So we know, as a matter of fact, that being in the assembly, in the National Assembly, will just be another opportunity for him to practice, for him to relate and more or less bring all the qualities that he already carries within him to the fruition, for the front burner. So we don't have any doubt at the back of our mind that he will be able to interface with the agencies of government that is necessary to be able to bring development to his people.
Just a straight question. Are you confident that INEC will be fair on Saturday? Just 10 seconds. Mr. Perete, can you hear me?
The audio is very poor. I can't really hear you very well.
Okay, just a last question. My time is totally out of time. I said, are you confident that the electoral umpire, INEC, will be fair on Saturday to all parties? That's just a straight question.
Oh, sure. I'm very confident that on Saturday, the PDP will surely become victorious at the polls. I'm very confident about that.
Okay, I was asking something different, but anyway, we're totally out of time. Thank you so much, Mr. Perete Kennedy, Publicity Secretary of the PDP in Ondo State. Thank you for coming on the program. I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll bring you another conversation before we wrap up the program. Join us again. Welcome back. As we try to wrap up the program, we will be bringing you another set of conversation just in a moment. But first, President Bola Tinubu is working hard to strengthen the nation's economy and end insecurity across the country. That's coming from the Imo State Governor and the chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, Senator Hope Uzodinma, who says that the hardships Nigerians are facing will be a thing of the past in the shortest possible time. He was speaking as guest on our political program, Sunday Politics. In the meantime, let's head back to this conversation about the by-elections that will be taking place on Saturday, February the 3rd, across 9 states of the Federation and across different constituencies. We're being joined by a security expert and election observer, Mr. Kingsley Uzodinma, who joins us via Zoom from Umaya. Mr. Uzodinma, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me, and the name again is Kingsley Uzoma, not Uzodinma.
Oh, Uzoma, my apologies. I just read the story about the governor. Apologies. Kingsley Uzoma, we just have a few minutes to have this conversation. So we need you to help us do, as a security expert, a bit of security mappings of these areas, if you will, some of the places you can remember that these by-elections will be taking place, because there are concerns when it comes to election about people's safety. So if you were to do a security mapping and advice, what will it be?
Yes, first, the by-election has to do with senatorial, House of Rep, and also states as applicable to Ebonyi State, Takom in Taraba, and the Lagos State for House of Rep, among others. So following the last security mapping that was done, the threats are there. But the good thing is that these are by-election, not also as large as they just concluded the off-cycle election as applicable to Kogi and Bayelsa. Rather, senatorial is something we expect, and House of Rep that in terms of policing security, since the police is the lead security agencies, they are equal to the task to enhance security and safety of the electoral umpire and the ad hoc staff, the candidates, and the voters themselves, because I do not expect them to give excuses. Yes, the threats analysis have been done, and I'm also aware that the gray areas has been taken note of. So I expect the police and other security agencies concerned to use the upcoming, the next by-election as an acidic test to once again prove to Nigerians that even ahead of the off-cycle election again that will be coming up for Ido and on those states, they are capable to deliver more free and fair poll as applicable to election security management.
You have talked about threat analysis done, and you mentioned gray areas. I may want to expatiate on these gray areas that have been identified that you expect them to close the gap ahead of Saturday.
Okay, the use of political thugs, which you cannot maybe link to a given political party. Rather, all the political parties, unfortunately, are culpable to some extent in this regard. So it is the job of the security agencies to make sure that they reduce that to the barest minimum. We've seen instances whereby during election, you have fake, let me use the word, fake security personnel, thugs who wear security uniforms in order to beat security. So those axes should be well taken care of. Then in terms of communication, you see that there is a communication gap between personnel deployed at the polling units and those patrolling in key areas. They arm their team. So they shouldn't rely on their personal telephone. Rather, there should be seamless communication to make sure that they hands emergency response, backup, and reinforcement where needs be.
All right, Mr. Kingsley Uzoma, thank you so much for your perspective. I wish we had more time. This year, they say no grief for anybody. I wanted to see whether that will be applicable at the polling units, whether or not you would advise, but we don't have the time. Mr. Kingsley Uzoma is a security expert and an election observer. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, your usual company, I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.